podcast in the world for growing your insurance business.
I'ma do whatever it takes. Getting it done, any means, get rid of these snakes. Now I'm up in my stakes, going all in like step, get rid of these breaks. Now I ain't never gonna break. Double my pace till I go down one of the greats. One of the greats, whatever it takes, whatever it takes.
Can't believe I'm doing this.
Having fun, so that's all.
We like the live video. All right, everybody, welcome back in to another episode of the 7 Figures or Bust podcast, the number one podcast in the world for growing your insurance business. This is episode 201, Monday morning. I am joined, as always, with Glenn Shelton. I'm Christian Brindle, and we got some breaking news that we need to kind of break down and discuss and put in context for you guys on today's show.
We need like a soundbite for breaking. This just in. Breaking news today on the 7 Figures or Bust podcast. Some sort of voiceover that really just.
And then we'll have like a reporter outside of the carrier's office. Yeah, guys, I'm coming to you live from the offices of blah, blah, blah. They could not be reached for comment.
Just like a warehouse. Like there's just random buildings. I love it.
So, okay, before we get into all the topics at hand, right? We have plenty of time to talk about that. How was your weekend, good sir?
My weekend, from pretty much when I saw you last till this moment right now, was almost 100% girls state basketball. That was my entire weekend. I have officially completed my tenure as a 10U girls basketball coach. It was it's hard to even describe. Very fulfilling for sure to help coach these girls. And the sport itself, though, it's almost a hybrid between rugby and basketball with how vicious these girls get on the court. It's crazy. If you saw, especially some of these games, you just get the right chemistry from two teams, and all of a sudden it's just like jump ball, jump ball, jump ball, jump ball, because they're just wrestling for the ball on every possession. But we ended up taking 4th in state, so I thought that was really good. The girls were kind of bummed they didn't get a medal. We were one game away from getting a medal, but there was like over 40 teams there, so I thought we did awesome. Super proud of them. So that was really my entire weekend was girls basketball. So tell me about your weekend.
You know, there was really nothing eventful about my weekend. You know, a lot of stuff with the kids. It took my oldest to a play place where she relentlessly chased around a giant dinosaur costume, person in a dinosaur costume. Wouldn't leave them alone. She wanted to take them home. I'm like, we cannot be kidnapping. It's not what we do in the Brindle household. And then we had to talk about kidnapping, and so did that. You know, just tried to help Mama out with the little guy. You know, the baby.
How is the little guy doing? How is
he's
Mr.
in
Cyrus?
Cyrus is in weekly therapy visits, feeding therapy visits at this point, where they're working on basically getting him to eat purees. The goal is by the time he's a year old, he can just transition directly into solids,
right,
and eat it completely by mouth. And it's going good. The initial steps are like getting him to be willingly put it in his mouth. So like 3 times a day, we get him in his high chair and put it all in front of him, and he smashes his hands in it. Yeah, makes a giant mess, and then he needs to put it in his mouth. He needs to go, and he's doing it. He's doing really well with that. And I'm just like, sitting there. I'm like, can't we like give him can we just get a spoon and like feed it to him? Like this is taking too long. And my wife is like, we can't push it. We have to let it flow naturally. It's not part of the process. And I'm just like, this I hate all of this. Anyway,
Like
that was
they're
my week.
finger painting. They're finger painting with their food. I remember that.
Well, I propose let's get into the sponsor of today's episode so we
Yes,
can kind of jump in because there's a lot to talk about with this topic. I know it's kind of what the
there
people
is.
want to hear.
There's kind of two sponsors today that I feel like we needed to talk about.
Oh,
Give a
two
little light
sponsors.
to. Yeah.
Okay.
So I think you might know one is. I'll talk about one, then maybe I'll let you do the other because I think you know who we need to talk about. There's a couple of items of business here we need to address. So the first one is we have our Intro to Seven Figure CRM webinar coming up this Wednesday, you guys.
Mhm.
I believe it is at 10 a.m. Pacific, 1 p.m. Eastern. We'll make sure the link to this webinar is dropped below in the comments on if you're in the Seven Figure Medicare Agent Facebook group on the stream. I'll make sure the link is dropped so you can sign up for this webinar. If you don't like your current CRM, if you don't have a CRM, if you need a new CRM, I highly recommend checking out this free webinar to see if Seven Figure CRM would be a good fit for you. We did a webinar last month about Seven Figure CRM. It went really well. We had a lot of people sign up. We had a lot of interest in it. I just think this is one of those things you guys really need help with. I really do. I'm going to be honest. This is probably like a top 3. Christian talks about the Trinity all the time: technology, training, and leads. Is that the Trinity? Did I get that right?
Training and mentorship, technology, access to leads.
There you go. So this is one of the main points on the triangle we're trying to help you guys out with, and honestly, it's one of the keys to really being successful. So again, Seven Figure CRM introduction to the Seven Figure CRM webinar this Wednesday, 10 a.m. Pacific, 1 p.m. Eastern. Mr. Brindle, take it away with our other sponsor.
Our co-sponsor.
We have co-sponsors today. This is amazing, you guys.
This is unprecedented, if I don't say so myself. Guys, our co-sponsor of episode 201 is the Seven Figure Blueprint event. I posted yesterday in the group, but I'll reiterate it here. We made arrangements last week to pay for dinner for everyone post-event. It's March 24th in Dallas, Texas, in the Integrity Marketing Building. If you've never experienced being inside of that building and kind of seeing what it has to offer, it is an absolutely amazing experience. It is state of the art. Integrity really spared no expense in terms of making it the best facility probably in the space. I've never seen anything quite like it. So the way that it will work is March 24th from 9 to around 3:34, we will have presentations from myself, from Glenn, from Andrew Saul, from Taylor Martin with Senior Security Benefits, from Tyler and Jessica McDaniel with Mac Insurance, from Lester Kahn with Agent Pipeline, from Anna Patrick with Integrity on the technology side. Just a really amazing lineup of speakers. Then once it lets out, we will be doing a short tour of the building where we will lead up to the Integrity Club, where we will be paying for dinner for the attendees. Now, it's only 50 tickets maximum. We only have about in the ballpark of about 10 tickets left. It's only $197 per ticket. There is not a better value, I think, that you can find right now all the way around. So get your ticket, March 24th. We have less than a month to go, about 3 weeks to go before the event kicks off. So make sure to get your tickets while you can. Seven Figure Blueprint event. Again, small, intimate event. Highly recommend you be there. We'd love to spend some time with you.
Make sure the link to that is also in the comments here in the Seven Figure Medicare Agent Facebook group. So if you guys want to try to jump in, you're more than welcome to. So that is our co-sponsors for today's episode. So
okay. All right. So let's
the business out of the way. Let's jump into it.
We did get the business out of the way. So shifting gears into the main topic at hand on today's show. This morning, a bombshell was dropped from a major national Medicare carrier. Now, I will not say the name of said carrier on the show. I assume that everybody knows the carrier that I'm talking about. If you have a contract with them, you most likely got this email as well, with some news. And so I'm going to kind of give you guys my interpretation of basically what it's saying. So let's start off there. And then we can kind of react to it and talk about what it means, because I'm already seeing the posts flying. You know,
me too.
I'm already seeing the posts, well, that's it. Time to pack up shop. And I'm just like,
Dusting off the real estate license. It's time.
I saw somebody be like, I've never been fired through email today before. And I'm like,
that's ridiculous.
I know. It triggered me so much. I even commented, and I'm like, why am I doing this? And I just stopped after that. Because I'm
don't feed the trolls.
Some of you, your minds are so melted, I cannot save you. But this is important to talk about. It's not nothing. It's not a nothing burger. So, two things that I got out of this this document that was sent by the carrier. Number one, they're adding a list of 72 additional non-commissionable plans. Now, every year for the past couple years, there have been non-commissionable plans presented. There were non-commissionable plans right before AEP that made a big kind of fuss. Now, this carrier in particular, which was very interesting, I'd never seen another carrier do this. They took some of their plans in many markets and introduced them as non-commissionable, but then also put look-alike plans with different plan codes in a reduced service area in many states in their place. And they looked almost exactly the same. So it was like, okay, for those of you that sold a lot of those plans, it probably was like, for us anyway, we were like, okay, this isn't so bad. We can still sell these plans. These are still in the prime, counties that we probably would be targeting. We still have the same plan available, just at a smaller service area. Well, in that list of 72 additional plans, there were plans that were just introduced, the lookalike plans right before AEP, that are now, 6 months later, made non-commissionable. So it just kind of adds to the non-commissionable frenzy. In addition to that, this was a big point of confusion for a lot of agents too. I'll just kind of give you my interpretation of it. If any of you interpret it differently, please let me know. But traditionally, if you write somebody on a Medicare Advantage plan and they're new to Medicare, and it's their first Advantage enrollment, most people get that wrong. Most people think that a true-up only happens if they're turning 65 or if they're new to Part B. It's actually if they're new to Advantage. It's their first Advantage enrollment. So it really should be new to Medicare Advantage, not new to Medicare.
Great point. Yeah.
But a true-up is when you get the larger Medicare Advantage payment, right? It's depending on your state, in the ballpark of about $600 to $700. In some states, maybe even as high as $800. It's when somebody's new to Advantage, and it's not prorated. No matter when in the year you write that policy, historically, it will pay that full amount. Rewrites and plan flips and things like that are prorated. So however many months have passed in the year. So let's say 6 months have passed and you write somebody from a Medicare Advantage plan to a different Medicare Advantage plan. Well, 6 months of that commission is prorated off, and you get paid for what's left in terms of those months of the year. True-ups were never that way, historically. Well, this carrier is doing something that no other carrier is doing right now, and we'll react to this, where they are now, as of 4/1 effective dates on, going to be prorating that true-up business. So however many months pass in the year, that's how many months will be taken off of your commissions, instead of it being a full amount regardless of the effective date, as has always been for true-up commissions. So those are the two big takeaways I got from the document. I spent some time this morning reading through it. A lot of times I kind of have a heads up that these are coming, either through contacts or the carrier directly or things like that. I didn't on this one, admittedly. Maybe some of you did, but I did not. This was a total surprise to me. And I was alerted to it by my phone blowing up with text this morning. Check my email, go through the document. Sure enough, there it is. Okay, so hearing all of that, initial reactions from you, good sir.
The non-commissionable plans piece of it, I mean, we've been dealing with this for a while, so that doesn't necessarily stand out to me as much as the true up reduction does. That's a new change. The other piece of this, though, the timing of the year for announcing these non-commissionable plans does seem a little different, I guess, in that sense. I mean, historically, most of the time, these non-commissionable plans have been announced, before AEP or during AEP. I don't feel like we've had like a OEP announcement like this recently. I mean, am I wrong? Has there been any type of OEP March announcement on non-commissionable plans before historically?
I know
in the
last year,
2-3 years?
Last year, I felt like they did a bunch of them. Like I think there
OEP?
was yeah.
Maybe I'm wrong
it was either during OEP or right after. It was either March or April. I can't remember, but there were several carriers that came out with a bunch of additional non-commissionable plans. Now, most of them terminated those plans come AEP. So it'll be interesting kind of see how AEP goes. So here's my thoughts. I have been saying that this is going to happen. I've said it's going to be at least 3 years of this. So I don't know why anyone's surprised.
Yeah.
Of the non-commissionable plans aspect of it. The true up part of it is a totally different animal. But from the beginning, this was expected to be a 3-year correction. Now, the change in the funding that we've talked about on the show, the proposed funding could certainly have some domino effects in this, but I would not be surprised if this would have happened regardless. If you look at what this carrier did in particular.
There's a comment here. And guys, I really appreciate the comments and the questions. Keep them coming. We do have Freebie Friday every single Friday. So if there's anything that you want to, if we can plug it into the conversation, we'd love to highlight your comment or your question. Here's a great one from Harold. That was essentially the words about to come out of your mouth. This carrier took on way too much business as well. They looked too good in quotations there.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was about to get to, right? So, in this carrier in particular, there was a lot of questions and conversations I would have in the industry, especially the last 6 months, to where it's like their plans in many markets and many capacities were doing things that no other plans were doing.
Right.
And so the question became, how are they able to do this? And because they had such a sizable advantage benefits-wise over a lot of the rest of the market, they sucked in a huge amount of business during AEP. They might have had the largest AEP in terms of enrollment from a single carrier in history. I had been hearing things like that.
I believe that.
Our own business, over 50% of our entire production as an organization came from this carrier during AEP. And so, for me, I had already been kind of hearing whispers that the carrier might have bit off more than they could chew during AEP. Again, that's just me speculating based on what I've heard. I'm not on the inside. I haven't had any inside conversations with the carrier to know that. But it does kind of seem that way from the outside looking in.
It does. It does.
In the moment when they introduced the lookalike plans, I appreciated it because it didn't just throw our AEP in a tailspin. Because if you remember the timing of that, it was essentially the last week of September, right before October started.
Yeah.
But now I wonder if it would have been better to just make those plans non-commissionable in a little bit more advance notice, maybe August, and just leave it alone. If they can't handle it, maybe just leave it alone. But it could be that the plan all along was to suck in as much market share as possible, and then once you got the market, and then yes,
yeah. I mean, that's the thing. Again, guys, you have to look at this from a for-profit business perspective. These Medicare Advantage carriers are publicly traded companies. They have to make sure that shareholders are, being protected, essentially, that they are getting the value out of the stock, of getting the value out of the company that they're all hoping to see. So this isn't a charity at the end of the day. They can't just help all these seniors and lose billions of dollars in claims because they overcompensate. I'm thinking about all the expense that came with this, right? Like all the increase in claims that they're going to get because their market share grew, the increase in payouts to brokers and agencies and IMOs and FMOs. Just across the board, I bet the numbers skyrocket. Now, yes, at the same time, the compensation they're getting for these Medicare Advantage clients, specifically from the government, like that went up too because of that market share. But now they're probably trying to figure out how do we stay profitable? How do we make this all make sense? So Joseph says, so they feasted and now we pay. Yeah, I mean, that's a bit of a brash way of putting it, but I kind of see this as the pendulum swung one direction in regards to Medicare Advantage carrier market share, and we'll probably see it swing back later this year, right? I mean, would you speculate plan year 2027, we'll see another carrier probably come forward and maybe make a bit of a market share grab if this current carrier starts to backpedal a bit?
it's possible. It's possible. I mean, I guess we'll see. I think one thing to keep in mind is they're still paying renewals, to my understanding. And it's just new business that they're not paying renewals, right? I think that's always appreciated because while few and far between, there have been a few different circumstances where some carriers have cut renewals as well. So it could be worse from that perspective. I mean, my opinion hasn't changed a whole lot. I think I said this was going to happen. Nostradamus right here. And it will happen more this year. So you get your panicking out now because it'll happen more this year. I don't know if it's going to be in 30 days, 60 days, 90 days, right before AEP again, but it will happen more this year. Mark me words.
There's no doubt. I mean, the big thing to me is this carrier we're talking about set aside. If the proposal from CMS to not increase funding, to do a 0.09% increase, which is essentially zero, that will most definitely have an effect on an increased number of non-commissionable plans. It has to. There's no doubt in my mind. So,
okay. So taking that aside, we're already seeing the panic.
Oh yeah.
We've talked about this a lot.
Do you see this YouTube comment? Well, you share that YouTube comment for the audience. Say, read that loud. Do you see that?
I don't want to call anybody out or throw somebody under the bus, but
they're getting out of the industry.
Yeah. Getting out of the industry. It sounds like the industry is screwed. We'll see. I've been hearing that for 10 years. And as Elton John said, I'm still standing. Yeah. I think from 2024, we've been told that there was going to be a correction. Anybody that would know, anybody that, is very plugged in and tied into this industry, myself included, has been saying since 2024 that we need a multi-year correction for carriers to phase out plans that are not profitable anymore and work new plans in. And I think you'll see millions of members have their plans termed in AEP again. You'll see a lot of new plans shifting in. It's going to be a process.
For sure.
Do I think that like the end is nigh? I really don't. I think it's carriers trying to control their costs. Now, on this specific situation with this carrier, you could probably say that, you could speculate that the actuarials kind of knew that this wasn't sustainable. Maybe it was a short-term burst for them, and maybe it's not great long-term. Again, that could be a thing here, but I think the majority of carriers I've been talking about have been focused on long-term sustainable business. I was in a carrier meeting not too long ago where they talked about, we've lost some market share the last couple of years because we're committed to long-term stability,
Yep.
And they're like, we're going to be positioned to, this is a massive carrier as well. They said, we're going to be positioned to, not have too much disruption and be able to be sustainable going forward when other carriers are going to move way backwards because we got ahead of this thing. Right. And I think that's the real message here. Now, if you're in a market that's going to be impacted by these plans, like for my own market, one of the plans that went non-commissionable in our home market is probably our best plan. I know I'm not supposed to say best, probably our most benefit enhanced plan.
I hear sirens coming. The compliance police are on the way to your location right now.
Let me see those hands.
Did you say best? Did you say hands?
Hang on. Keep talking. I'm going to find something real quick.
Yeah. So, again, this really has been more of the same. One of the concerns I have, especially with this idea behind, again, even though I understand logistically why they're doing this reduced true-up model where you get a prorated amount depending on the effective date of the application. So if it's a 6/1 effective date, you're only getting 50% of the true-up you normally would. While logistically I understand why they're doing it, I don't think this is a good thing for the industry as a whole. I think getting new people onto Medicare Advantage, especially the turning 65 market, it's typically a higher cost per acquisition. Not always, but typically. So I think carriers should understand that brokers and agents need that additional compensation to cover that higher cost of acquisition.
Sure.
At the end of the day, you guys, nothing's changed in regards to how much the carriers need us. Like that hasn't changed at all. And that's the main reason why like this doesn't mean anything to me. I'm not joining the Chicken Little army. I'm sorry, you guys. I know there's a lot of you. There's a lot of you out there. Okay, here we go.
All right. Can you hear the sound? I can't remember. Hang on. Let me make sure.
No, I think it's automatic. I think it's automatic.
Oh, is it?
With StreamYard.
Not like Mr. Zoom?
It's not like Mr. Zoom.
Okay, here we go.
Download the movie and play them on the computer. All right, cool. Let's download some Metallica and some Stevie Wonder. Kenny's right. We should download some Judas Priest, too. Judas Priest. Wow, downloading music for free is awesome.
Okay, so that's me saying this plan's the best.
This plan's the best.
This plan's the best. This is me in front of my computer, literally right now.
Yeah, this is the best Medicare Advantage plan.
What the hell is that? I don't know. Let me check.
Here comes CMS.
Freeze, FBI! Down on the ground! Down on the ground! Hands! Let me see those hands! Tango team is at Point Bravo. Suspects in custody. Move, move.
Oh, that's hilarious.
Oh my goodness. I'm sorry, guys. I couldn't resist.
So there's a question here. Someone's asking for clarity really on the prorated true up amount. So again, just to I'll tell you my understanding of how this works again, just to kind of recap this. And Christian, correct me if I'm wrong on any of this. So if it's a 1/1 effective date for a true up, someone new to Medicare Advantage with this carrier that we're talking about that made the announcement today, you would still get 100% of the true up amount. So, the number I'm seeing listed here is 694. So you would get that full 694 if that's the accurate commission amount.
That's correct, right? So it's essentially you have the entire year's worth of commission, right? Because it's 12
Right.
months that the plan will be on the books. Of course, if there's a cancellation throughout that year, you'll have a chargeback. But yes, nationally, this is the street level Medicare Advantage commission, right? 694.
There you go.
So what you're looking at is a monthly commission of 57.83. So however many months are passed. So let's say you write a 4/1 effective date, or let's say a 6/1 effective date, right?
Yeah, 6/1.
And let's say 6 months have passed. Well, then you'll have $347 prorated off of your true up. So 347. That means you'll end up with a 347 commission because 6 months of the year have passed. They prorate it off. That's how they do Medicare Advantage to other Medicare Advantage plan flips already. This is essentially,
That same method.
yeah, same type of method there. So anyway, guys, this doesn't change anything for me. This does not change a single thing for me. I mean,
$57 for 12/1 effective, right? Then
yeah,
that's what we're looking at.
So here's the thing. This is an additional way that this carrier is suppressing business as well on their other plans, is the way I'm taking this. Because they're de-incentivizing new Medicare members that come in to be written on these plans. Now where this becomes a problem is it becomes a precedent. I don't like that. I think it changes the T65 market. But do I personally think that this is the beginning of the end is nigh? No, this has been happening for 2 years. We said it would be happening in this year. You guys didn't listen. Here we are. It'll happen more. A couple years down the road, plans will have phased out. New plans will come in. Things will correct.
Yeah.
That is my prediction of the Medicare Advantage market. Medicare Advantage is too important to the federal government. And brokers are the backbone of the distribution network of Medicare Advantage. We've done 100 shows about this. And, that's my prediction of the market. Now, do I like to see commissions cut ever? Certainly not. No, I don't. But I also do see what the carrier is trying to do. I don't think it sets a good precedent. I will say that.
No.
I don't think that it sets a good precedent from the standpoint of actuarially perspective. You can't convince me that they didn't know that this would happen. Maybe they took on way more business than they were thinking they were going to.
It's possible. Devil's advocate. That's what I was going to say is there's a chance that they had a number in mind and there's a chance they blew right past it, right? Oh, we're going to gain 35% market share and they gained 60%. And now they're, so I know it's easy for us to try to villainize the decisions coming out of the carrier right away, especially if it's affecting our commissions. But I think, again, I try to keep an open mind with they're a for-profit entity. It needs to be a relationship that works for them, that works for us. Like that's how they, the other big part of this too, you guys, obviously if you were captive, it's a different story, but we aren't captive. We are not captive. We have at Everything Senior Insurance at ESI, Christian, our agency, we have over 90 carriers that we have. Obviously, a lot of them are on the small side, There's obviously not 90 massive national carriers that we can do business with. But the point is, it allows us to have options on who we're doing business with. If you really don't like a carrier, if you really don't want to submit business to a carrier because you don't like what they're doing, then don't write for that carrier. No one's
Correct.
No one's holding you. No one's holding you hostage right now, saying keep writing. Keep writing. Like, no one's doing that.
And like, you know, people being like, I'm seeing it on multiple platforms already. You know, we're working for free. You're dumb if you're working for free.
Yeah.
Why? Who's working for free? Why are you working for free? What are you talking about?
That's a great,
Stop selling the free plans.
I'm going to keep writing it. If they don't want to pay me, that's up to them. But I'm going to keep writing this. I'm not going to stop writing this plan. I'm going to work for free. I'm going to work for free. They can't stop me from not getting paid.
You know,
the scary part is how many people that is. That's the number.
I'll show you, carrier. Watch me go around you and slam 100 people through this plan and not make anything off of it.
I got vertigo last AEP because I was under the impression that the majority of you were operating in the same headspace that Christian and I are operating, where if a plan goes non-commissionable, we are not going to write that plan for a variety of reasons. We don't even need to get into all of those reasons why.
We don't need to beat a dead horse more.
Yeah,
we've already talked so much.
But again, very simple. We're going to look at other plans and broker distribution that we have access to that are still a great fit for our beneficiaries that we're working with. But for whatever reason, there's so many of you out there who honestly are like, I'm just going to keep writing these non-commissionable plans and hope that it gets better in the future.
And
like, what is going on?
To clarify, right? Like, your members that are on these plans, they will still pay you renewals. That is my understanding. So you'll still be paid to service these clients. You'll still be paid to service them. You'll still be paid to take care of them. And yeah, I really think it's just, there's plenty of plans to sell. Now, some of you are in really tough markets. I get it. Every time I talk about this, someone from Connecticut comes out of the woodwork, and then I'm talking about Connecticut, and I'm like thinking about the other 49 states,
Connecticut.
You know, or I'm not trying to laugh at people in Connecticut, but I'm just saying, like,
Connecticut's getting roasted on the pod this morning,
or Minnesota, Connecticut or Minnesota, like those two states. Someone from those two states will always be the one to raise their hand and be like, what about me? And we've done shows about things you can do. I do think there's things you can do, but for the vast majority of us, like for us, for example, right? Some of those stronger plans in our market just went non-commissionable. I don't like to see that. That's not how I want to start my week internally, but we pivot and we move a couple of other plans to the front of the line.
So here's a comment question from Amy. I think this is great. And I like to try to tie in some actionable advice to you guys, not just bring you the news, not just do the 6 o'clock news where so-and-so was murdered and just try to like fear bait you guys into listening or watching the show. I like to actually provide some actionable advice and how can you move forward through what's going on. So Amy says, I have been telling my clients that if a plan is non-commissionable, it is a sign that it is not stable. Would that be a fair way to explain it to them? With hundreds of insurance agents and agency owners at the event, this could not be a better opportunity to spotlight your business. If you're looking for a sponsorship opportunity and where to spend your sponsorship dollars this year, the 7-Figure Medicare Agent Summit is the spot to do it. You can have your own booth. You can network with agents. This is the 4th annual summit, so there's going to be a lot of agents there and a lot of agents who are looking for help from vendors for leads, educational vendors. You could have a software tool. There's so many great vendors that we've had in the past, and we're looking at a lot of great opportunities for businesses to sponsor at the Seven Figure Medicare Agent Summit. So if you are looking for a sponsorship opportunity, make sure to check out sevenfiguresmedicareagentsummit.com.
Get your tickets today while they're still available and reach out about sponsorship opportunities. We'd love to have you involved with the Seven Figure Medicare Agent Summit in 2025. Now back to the show. Yes. So Glenn and I were just talking about that this morning.
Yes,
in
we were.
relation to this, right? Like what we have been telling clients of ours when a non-commissionable plan comes up is that exact thing. What we've been telling them is, the carrier the insurance company has removed it from us being able to offer it as an agency. And normally, historically, when a carrier does that, it usually means that the plan is over leveraged. It's not as stable as they'd like it to be. And oftentimes it means that the plan is on the chopping block for cancellation at some point. So we wouldn't recommend doing that plan for that reason.
Yep.
And I think that's a very valid explanation, and I don't think it's inaccurate whatsoever. That's how we've been approaching that internally with non-commissionable plans. And it's true. Like, does your client want to get on a plan that's going to term potentially in 9 months? Doesn't mean it's a guarantee that that's going to happen on every plan that goes non-commissionable, but a lot of them, it will happen.
Majority,
it's going to happen.
Yeah.
Last year, if you look at the plans that terminated, a vast majority of them, a huge percentage of them, were plans that went non-commissionable the previous AEP and plans that went non-commissionable earlier in the year. I believe that that's what we're going to see again this year. So it's just making pivots, making adjustments, and not working for free.
Yeah, but again, there is this mindset with some of you where you truly believe that you need to do what's best for your client, your Medicare beneficiary, and you're like, I'm just going to write them into this non-commissionable plan. But again, like if you really take it in full perspective, right? I think we almost have to readdress this. Okay, so point one, if the plan's non-commissionable, the carrier doesn't want you to write that plan. They're not asking you to write it for free. They're asking you, please don't write this plan.
Yes.
So that's the first piece of it. Second, just like Christian talked about a second ago, you're doing them a disservice if the likelihood is extremely high that the plan's going to be terming in less than a year, and they're going to have to scramble and flip again, and they might not be able to. What if they get on a plan and they get a doctor and then the plan gets terminated? Now they have to get a new doctor and a different number, blah, 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 blah. That could create chaos for them in their health journey, right? Wherever they're at with what's going on. And then on top of it, and this is kind of a nuanced thing that we don't necessarily have proof of, but there's been this rumor floating around that E&O won't cover a non-commissionable plan. Again, it seems like might be specific to who your E&O is with, your errors and omissions insurance as an agent. But it's been going around that there's a chance you could write a non-commissionable plan, get a complaint, and if you did have to use your E&O coverage, there's a chance they could come back and be like, oh, this wasn't a commissionable plan, so we wouldn't cover this. Which obviously that's in their best interest because they're trying to protect how many claims they pay out. So if there is an obvious reason for them to not pay out, they're not going to do it. I mean, the list just keeps going on and on why you shouldn't write these non-commissionable plans. It really is. You're not helping your clients. I think that's the thing that we really need to hammer into some of you, though, is you're not doing your client a service by writing them a non-commissionable plan. Even if technically it's a better plan, you're not actually helping them.
Yes. You are not helping your client for all the reasons Glenn laid out. Agree with everything there. You're not helping the carrier, which leads to further destabilization
in the whole industry. Yes.
And by doing both of those things, the net result is you're not helping yourself.
Mm-hmm. It's what I call a lose-lose-lose. I
The
call
holy
that a
trinity of screwing
holy
everyone over.
It's the triple loser. The triple loser.
Everybody loses. Everybody loses when
the beneficiary loses, you lose, the carrier loses. We lose too, just by being licensed Medicare agents and being associated with you, right? So it's like a quad. It's like it's a square of losing.
I had some conversations post AEP with some carriers on the national side, some folks that work at some of these carriers, and they could not believe how many agents were still writing their non-commissionable plans. The messaging I got from them, they were like, we don't know how to make it any more clear to them. We don't want it. That's what one person told me, word for word, almost verbatim. Yeah. And I'm like, I don't know either. I'm like, we've been trying. I'm like, they're silly. They don't listen sometimes.
They go non-commissionable. The quoting engines pull the plans out. Like
they hide them from the carrier website. State DOIs are trying to force them to make them on the carrier website. They're like, no, we don't want the business. Let us get to AEP so we can term it.
Yeah, seeing some of you during AEP this last year, and you're like, this plan's non-commissionable. I'm going to write it for my client. I can't find it, and I'm so upset. And I'm like, what is going on? I'm like, what do you want? What are you doing?
The only devil's advocate there I might give is like, maybe you have a client on that plan and you want to give them the new benefits for next year, right? You want to do like a service review with them. But if it's in the context of trying to write it, like, man, it's upside down world. It really is.
And I will say the one caveat here too is if you truly do think that your client, your Medicare beneficiary needs to be on that plan, have them self-enroll. Like if you really truly believe that this is the plan they need to be on, don't write it yourself. So, because again, I've gotten in trouble before when I get really strong on this. I'm not saying if that's really the case, if you're really in a case where there's not any plan even close that can help them, and it's really just this one plan and it's non-commissionable, you still don't have to write it yourself. Have them call the carrier, have them self-enroll, send them the link to the website, etc., yada, yada, yada. But if you actually write it yourself, you're attaching yourself to that application. There's risk now associated to you as the writing agent. Plus, again, you're sending a message to the carrier. You don't need to pay me. It's okay. I'm going to keep writing for you, which we're all trying to avoid.
Yes. All of that is very valid. I want to say a couple of things.
Please do.
Like Stephen A. Smith is always like, put the camera on me. Kevin Durant is a 7-foot monster. Anyway, sorry. No, I want to say something though.
Yeah.
I want to get into a few more action items, but before we do that, I just want to let everybody know that the market has been a little volatile the past couple of years. This is not new. A lot of this is not new. We will see more of this year. We might even see some of this next year. If, like Glenn said earlier, the funding proposal of essentially curbing the Medicare Advantage funding increase goes through, that probably stretches this whole thing out longer.
Yes.
If you're going to be in this market, you need to go with the understanding that this is going to keep happening, and you need to keep making pivots and adjustments and weather the storm and find ways to continue to grow your business. If you can't do that, you should get out and quit.
Yeah.
Because this is the way it's going to be for a little while. At the very least, the rest of this year, probably this AEP. This is the third year. Originally, I said 3 years in 2024. It could be extended a little bit if things don't become more favorable on the funding conversation. We'll see what final rule says in the coming months. But now, does that mean that this is going to a place where there's no way for you to grow your business? No, that's certainly not what I mean. But it's very simple. find plans that are commissionable, sell those plans, cross-sell, bundle. If you're in Connecticut or Minnesota, maybe sell in other states over the phone. And adjust, pivot. This is an annoyance at best for ESI.
Yep. I will add to that what we've seen happen in this space, in our industry over the past 3 years. What's really happening in my mind is I feel like the barrier to entry to becoming a successful broker has really gotten higher. It used to be much, much lower. You come in, you're getting paid on everything you write. You're getting marketing dollars fronted to you with no experience, etc. Like there was a lot of paths you could take if you were a brand new agent that would potentially put you on a road to success. Well, now with marketing money dwindling, if not completely gone in a lot of situations, non-commissionable plans.
Still a few carriers, but
still a few.
It's wild to me. I see people still recruiting with it too.
Yeah.
I'm like, there's a couple carriers still doing it, and that will be over soon.
Yeah.
Like, what's your value proposition once that's all gone?
Right.
Anyway, that's a different story for another day.
I totally agree. So I guess if you're trying, my point is if I'm trying to look at this from like an optimistic viewpoint, I do feel that there's less competition already, and most likely there will continue to be less competition as an agent, as a broker, because of these things that are happening in the industry. So less competition means you get to write more apps. You get a bigger piece of the pie, whether that's your local market, maybe you're selling over the phone statewide, you're multi-state, you're a brick and mortar, etc. It's called culling season on the farm, right? Culling season means the weak die off, right? You've got a big thing of, pigs, and you're trying to make it to harvest, and the weakest pigs, the sickest pigs, they don't make it to harvest, right? They're going to die during culling season. That's essentially what we're seeing happen right now. Obviously, if you're brand new, that means it can be a little more difficult to climb the mountain to get to success. But the other side of it is you're not fighting as many Medicare agents. I mean, do you feel like that personally right now? Like, do you feel like, because like that's kind of my gut read right now, is it feels like there's probably less competition right now than there's been in the past 5 years.
Yeah, it's great.
Yeah.
I love it.
It's great.
I said last year, I'm like, why don't you all should quit? It'd be great for me.
Oh man.
No, I think I think that's very true. I felt there's a lot less competition. I think a lot of the people that were just kind of like 1 foot in, 1 foot out of doing this.
Yeah.
Most of them have gotten out.
They're gone. Yep.
And there's a lot of those people. There's a lot of those fair weather people. And that's okay for you. Our own CMS commissioner last year said, or administrator, sorry, last year said when he was being sworn in that he thought there were too many agents. I don't know if I agreed with that.
Yeah. Do you agree with that?
No, I don't know if I agreed with him on that.
Yeah.
But maybe there is. I don't know.
I don't know. I have a hard time believing there's enough. I don't think there is enough agents, right?
Yeah.
I think you look at the increasing number of baby boomers still getting onto Medicare right now, there's probably not enough agents to really help everybody. I mean, I'm sure they can find a way to get help. I'm not saying that they're not going to get help, but I think there's plenty of room for more agents. The other thing that I think we've seen that's changed the market a ton is those front-loaded call center contracts. I'm blanking on what are those called? What's the term for
HEAP model?
HEAP? There it is. Thank you. I could not think of that. The HEAP model was so hot 3, 4, 5 years ago that created so much chaos, and you can feel a calm behind the scenes with the HEAP model's death. Personally, I truly believe that. I think the HEAP model's death is probably a great thing for the industry overall. So
Yeah,
I'm
I
still
would agree.
super bullish. I'll just kind of jump into my final thoughts here since we're getting towards the top of the hour. So after talking about, this major Medicare Advantage carrier this episode and the non-commissionable plans that they announced, the prorated true ups, obviously, again, this is something the Chicken Little agents are pointing to and saying, end of times, time to get out, time to go do something else. I'm just as bullish today as I've ever been on this space for the immediate future. Obviously, I can't tell you what Medicare is going to look like 5 to 10 years from now, but if you were to ask me how I feel about the next 3 to 4 years, very bullish on the direction that the industry is going. I don't believe that they're getting rid of commissions for all of us. I don't think that's happening anytime soon. I don't think that AI is going to come in and kill all of us and keep us from being able to write plans. I think we're in a great spot, and it is kind of a survival of the fittest right now. So, but there's so many options, and I think a lot of you just don't see what those options are. And we've already touched on a lot of them, expanding your area, contracting with other carriers, selling more ancillary products, selling more med stuff. Like, there should almost always be a path forward, even if your local market got destroyed. Shout out to the Huskies up there in Connecticut. So those are my final thoughts on today's episode.
Yeah, I mean, guys, my final thoughts are, in our space, if you look at the history of it, I have spent my entire life connected to the space. Before I came in 2014, my dad was an agent since the 90s, and there's always been a boogeyman. There's always been a boogeyman. There's always a reason for agents to say the sky is falling. Always. In the 90s, I've talked about this a lot on the show. In the 90s, it was Hillary Care. That was going to put us all out of commission. In 2005, Part D comes in. That was the boogeyman, right? There's always been a boogeyman. Medicare Advantage at the beginning was a boogeyman to the agents that sold MedSup. There's always been a boogeyman. There always will be a boogeyman. And for me, anytime I actually hear that there is indeed a boogeyman, it's typically way overblown, and it just requires a little bit of shifting and adjustments. I've seen a lot of boogeymans in my 12 years. I've seen agents that when I started in 2014, within a year or two, they got out because of some boogeyman. There was one agent I knew that read an article that said the Medicare Trust Fund would be insolvent by 2020. This was 2015, and he was just convinced. And so he quit. And I was just like, dumbass, and I'm still here, like, that was ridiculous. That was a ridiculous reason to get out of the business, right? So, like, there's always a boogeyman. And, I believe that this industry has decades and decades and decades of experience of shift, adjustment, and a history of maintaining and still being here and still being relevant. And I don't believe this changes anything for me. If every carrier changes the true up rules, do I like that? Probably not. But do I think it puts us out of business or anything? No. Might just change our strategy a little bit. But it doesn't mean that we're not still here. So those are my final thoughts on episode 201. Hopefully we weren't too rough on you guys. More than anything, we wanted to kind of give a message of encouragement that, like, let's get a grip. Let's look at what this really is and make adjustments, go from there. This has been happening for 2 years now. Why are we still screaming about it every time it does? It's going to happen for a little bit longer. And just understand that. So anyway, guys, hope you enjoyed this episode. And thank you so much for watching all the way to the end, whether you watch live or whether you watch on a replay. Regardless of the platform that you choose to take today's episode in on, please do us a favor. Make sure to smash the like button, subscribe, comment your thoughts. Give a 5-star review if it's an audio-only platform. And we'll see you guys on the next episode. On Friday, we are planning on having Mr. John Wetmore on as a guest for episode 202. So you will not want to miss that. All right, guys. We'll see you next time. Here's to your massive success.
Happy selling.